Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome to Module 5. This is your brother, Coach Zubair. In this module, we'll be talking about regular follow-ups with the converts. Basically, the agenda for this module is that we want to talk about regular follow-ups, structured studies, halal and haram discussion with the converts, common pitfalls, other tips, and we'll wrap it up, inshallah, within 15 to 20 minutes as well. So let's begin. Bismillah. So last time we talked about the first meeting, and we talked about why it's important within your first meeting for you to discuss with the convert about the importance of follow-ups and so on and so forth. So in this way, this meeting, this module will talk about the details of what you want to be talking about in follow-ups and how you will structure your follow-ups. So the idea is that at this stage, what we're trying to do, again, if you recall, I did not talk about how to pray, how to make wudu in my first meeting. The idea is that they're new, and we have to inspire them and share the importance of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to create a desire within themselves that they are, they want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously the first goal, according to the prophetic hadith, is to get them to the salah. And between their current stage of shahada and salah is what we need to do and increase their faith and their desire to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which will happen essentially by these three things, right? So you want to encourage them to make dua for themselves, right? To engage in that dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help, talking to Allah for the different needs and so on and so forth, and you making dua for themselves as well. And second thing is the content. For them to consume good content every day that will encourage them to know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. It will help them realize who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and the importance of worshiping Allah and the importance of obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when they meet up with you, to discuss that with you. So now this could be a one-on-one thing, or you could have a community class or group for new people that you meet regularly. So that could be another way of discussion. But a lot of time, a lot of converts don't come to those classes because of various reasons. They, maybe they're busy at that time and so on and so forth. So that's why it's important for you to have that sort of one-on-one relationship and one-on-one follow-ups with them as well. And this will lead into the desire for them to learn the technical details of how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when you are discussing with them, or when you are doing these proactive follow-ups with them, we want to have a balance of technical and spiritual content. So spiritual content would be, knowing about Allah, names and attributes of Allah, iERA, ArRahmah, the concept of ArRahmah, what happens in ArRahmah, day of judgment, the time of death, and so on and so forth. And technical content would be like, okay, how do you pray? What are the conditions of prayer? What do you say during the prayers, the wudu, what breaks wudu, and all that sort of stuff. Now, obviously, at some point you will start seeing them coming for Friday prayers as well, especially the males. And then at the same time, another thing that can happen in parallel is that they can either come to community classes or regular halaqah with the regular Muslims, something that's not too complex for them, or they come to community dinners and community events, or they start volunteering within the community in different activities that happen within the community, because that's something that a lot of people are interested in. So even if they're not learning very fast and they're not very keen on learning and practicing, connecting them to that volunteering committee can be helpful. Again, making sure that the people around them are sensitive to converse, and they won't be like attacking them with halal and haram discussion all the time. So typically when I do a follow-up, what I recommend is that you have this discussion about what's going on in their life, right? So, things that they're concerned about themselves, their family, their job, and whatnot. So you kind of have that sort of discussion with them, and a little bit of update about yourself. But then you should be able to transition into the main topic of the relationship, which is the goal. So sometime I would probably revisit that. Look, again, our discussion is around La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and the example of the life that we talked about last time, and that Allah is the Rabb, Allah is the Lord, Allah is the Creator, and so on and so forth. So one of the ways for me to manifest for my love for Allah is to pause whatever am I doing during the time of prayers. So if I'm studying, if I'm on my job, if I'm on my business, I should be able to pause that activity and have a connection with Allah and have an awareness, more awareness of Allah, because within the prayer, and talk to Allah and ask Allah for support. That shows that I realize that this is important. spending time in the prayer, for example. And then talking about some of the goals that the person may have set. That could be regarding content consumption, reading Quran translation, or watching a videos, or it could be, going through some structured studies, going to a class or doing a class online. We'll talk about that in a second. And when you talk about that, then you want to say, look, it's not for me judging you or anything, but as a coach, as a mentor, let's discuss why are you not able to pray 5 times? Or why are you not able to come to the class? And then you'll say, okay, look, here, what's going on? And then you understand the challenges. And then you can, empower the person with resources that will make it easier for them. So if they're not comfortable in, praying in public space, you share with them, then maybe, hey, where are you usually hanging out? Maybe there's a masjid close to you, you can go and pray there, or you can go to a halal restaurant and pray there, and so on and so forth. Or maybe one day when time is right, you pray with them in public. So, again, you can discuss those things and understand the obstacles. Maybe they forget, so you can maybe set reminders on their phone and so on and so forth. You may want to readjust the goals for the next week, maybe stretch them, reduce them, and so on and so forth. Maybe if once a week follow-up is too long, you might want to do a daily follow-up, a daily quick follow-up, and then so that each day is getting better and better. And within that regular follow-up with them, you also want to help them connect with Quran and study Quran, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. So again, so you have a combination of technical. If they're ready for technical, then you will have some time dedicated towards technical understanding of wudu, what breaks wudu, how to do wudu, and how to perform the salah, and so on and so forth. You may have some structured component beside Quran. And then in terms of your tools to track habits, sometimes I use WhatsApp, sometimes I use the app called Habit Share, and sometimes I use Trello. For holistic development and checking on their goals and frequency and so on and so forth. So during your spiritual discussion, you want to focus on the names of Allah and who is Allah. So here are some of the examples. So for example, when we talk about that Allah is the one who is deserving of my full worship, then what prevents me from performing my salah? Why is it that someone else is becoming a priority for me? Right. So let me drill deeper into that. So if I realize that Allah is my Rabb, which means that Allah is the creator of everything that I want and everything that I have, including my ideas, my emotions, my things that I own, and Allah is a true owner of that. So even that whatever I have, whatever I enjoy is from Allah. Allah is the one who has facilitated ownership of that for me. And Allah is the one who is sustainer. So if I like certain emotions, if I want to be happy, or if I want to have more of some of my things, Allah is the one who can give it to me, who can grow it, who can increase me in that, or who can take it away and give it to someone else. So if I realize that why am I, chasing it in other venues and, disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The implications of knowing that Allah is Al-Hakim, the All-Wise, which means that all of His decrees have a wisdom behind it. So praying 5 times has a wisdom behind it. It's not to slow me down in this world, but has a powerful wisdom behind it. If something painful happens to me in this world, such as a divorce, a job loss, a car breakdown, it has a wisdom behind it. And then I need to have hope and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That look, if I was running the world, I would not have done the same thing to me. Maybe because of my lack of understanding, I would just have chased the pleasure. But Allah made it happen to me, and I trust the decision of Allah. And that would also help you to have a hope for better future, because Allah is able to do all things. So why are we hoping that our life will go downhill from this point on? Why don't we hope for a better future? And you would share, for example, the mindset of the Sahaba, the companions of the Messenger of Allah. But when they would suffer a calamity, a painful situation, they would say, Inna lillahi, we belong to Allah. Everything that we have also belongs to Allah, and then we will return to Him. And they would hope for the reward from Allah, and they would get closer and closer to Allah, and they would ask Allah to replace what they have lost with something better. So they will always be hoping for better things in future. You can use these type of verses, the promises of Allah, on how when you fulfill your duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He makes a way out for you from every difficult situation. If you have a true trust in Allah, and you put your best effort, you trust in Allah that Allah will give you the best, and you have a positive mindset, and look how Allah will be sufficient for you. So you can use this Quranic verses to empower them. Likewise, these beautiful hadith about how no one can harm you or benefit you, seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protecting the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will protect you, and so on and so forth. Again, another hadith that's so powerful, that look, with patience you'll be successful, with hardship will come ease, and so on and so forth. So again, having these handy and discussing them will be amazing for you. And these are things that we have also gathered for you in the empowerment document as well. And again, you'll have the slides as well, so you can use them. So now we want to talk about the Quran, the relationship with Quran. As I mentioned earlier, that when you are doing your regular follow-up, you want to show them how to develop a relationship with Quran. So what is Quran? Look, tell them, look, it has a cure for your heart, for your increase and strength of your faith, as well as your body. It's a guidance from Allah. It's a speech of Allah. It is something that can become your happiness and success by the will of Allah. So that's something very important for you to share with them. Like, for example, look, right now, for you to be happy instantaneously, maybe if I buy you a luxury car, you'll be happy, right? As a gift. But at some point in your life, if I were to just buy you a balloon or take you to McDonald's, you'll be like super happy. So happiness is something that's in our heart. And sometimes we make it too hard for ourselves to be happy. So one of the du'as that the Prophet has taught us is to ask Allah to make Quran the happiness, the light, the spring of our heart. And if that becomes, imagine how easy would it be for you to be happy, just opening the Quran and connecting with it, and you will be happy. And that can happen, right? So what we need to do is start building the relationship with Quran and start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that favor and that blessing. So when you are reading the verse with them, or when they're reading about the verse at home, tell them, look, we're not reading Quran to just try to drive a legal ruling. Is it permissible? Is it obligatory? It is impermissible. That's not why we're reading it in our discussion, in our context. Because for you to be able to understand that, you need to have a holistic understanding of Quran and Hadith and so on and so forth. So that's not the purpose that we are going in. We're not going in for legal purposes. So when we are opening and we are reading the verses, we are thinking about these things, that, look, what do I learn about Allah from this verse? And what's the general meaning of this verse? Which kind of people is this verse talking about? Which kind of qualities is this verse talking about? Are these the qualities that Allah loves or He does not love? And how do I do in terms of those qualities? Is this verse reminding me to focus on something that I'm not focusing on? So maybe I'm too narrow focused, but it's trying to remind me of a longer term focus. Is there a promise in this verse that if I do this, Allah will do this for me? Or if I don't do this, Allah will do that for me, whatever, right? So is there a promise in this verse for me? Is there anything about my mindset, about my worldview that this verse tells me about? So here is a playlist of me discussing these things with converts. So you can take a look at that, and that will help you run these type of sessions. And the playlist at the moment, we are doing juz 29, the 29 juz. But the document that I have linked there at the moment, I'm doing bullet points from Surah Al-Baqarah. So again, this can help you in running those type of discussion circles. Now, when it comes to the technical education, tell them that you don't necessarily have to learn the Arabic alphabet. You can use the English transliteration for you to be able to learn that. Now, one thing I found helpful, that a lot of transliterations are not converts friendly. Because you can do that if you have an understanding of Arabic, but for converts, what I found beneficial is if you break it down in syllables. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And I use, for example, capital letters for heavy sounds and lowercase letters for regular sounds and things like that. I would use apostrophe for ayn, depending on what is the ability of the convert. And if you see this video, you'll see me doing that with a convert. And it took us 6 months to get there. He was very slow in progressing on his technical skills. And that was his choice. What could I do, right? I would encourage him, but he was very slow. He doesn't want to do it. So for that, I said, okay, look, you still pray. And you just do Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Now, that's not the right thing, but that's better than not praying. So sometimes you may have to make those judgment calls. Obviously, you're not hiding it with them. You're saying, look, this is what you should be doing. But, something is better than nothing. So you have to see how much resistance the person has, and then you have to determine what they can do. So this is what I was saying, that this is what he was praying with. Okay, now to increase these things, so if you see that converts are not coming up, not meeting up, then you can use these things, right? Create some events, create some social event. You take them out for lunch or dinner, one-on-one, or a small group, or have meetings in masjid, coffee evenings, tea evenings, sports. Use your social media, use your meetup.com or whatever the famous platform is for advertising events. Now, please remember, a lot of these things can be and should be used to provide a platform for youth to come in and connect. A lot of youth want to have a fresh start at the masjid, but they don't know how to come, which programs to come. So these type of circles can also be directed towards those people who want to become a renewed Muslim. So keep in mind that opportunity as well, and that may be a bigger opportunity than converts themselves. So let's not ignore that. So here's my, some videos of me doing weekly follow-ups with the converts. Okay, now let's talk about some structured studies. What about if someone, has time and they get into this, that, okay, I want to now learn the pillars of Islam, the pillars of faith, names and attributes of Allah, or iERA. So what you can do is either you can have, group classes at your masjid, at your organization, or you can, if they cannot come to those things, you can discuss with them one-on-one, or you can help them sign up for some online class. But when you do your one-on-one, you ask them, hey, did you do one module or two modules of that online class? What did you learn? Let's discuss that. So this is some of the ways that you can facilitate structured learning for them. Now, here are some online organizations that provide structured learning. Maybe you know of some others that I don't know. So take a look at that. Kalamullah.com has a lot of PDFs on a lot of books. So if they don't want to do structured learning, perhaps you can use Kalamullah to help them figure out a book that they want to learn. And if they like a book, then you can even buy that book, or they can buy it themselves. But it could be a good way to check out different books that exist. Now, in my New Muslim Buddy program document, you will have links to Salah video, Wudu video, books about names of Allah, tafsir of Quran, and different things. So depending on what your convert is interested in. Another way, as I said, you can, for example, use New Muslim Academy, right? And make a goal with them that they will go through one or two modules every week. Or you guys can both watch the modules together, or you can download their PDFs and go through it together. So there's different ways. You have to be a bit dynamic depending on the convert you're mentoring, and so on and so forth. And again, have a balance of technical versus spiritual, as you can see in this chat message. So some people are like, okay, I don't want to pray because it's not correct. So remind them, look, it's not about being, Arabic accent and so on and so forth. Allah is not truly judging you on that. If you're putting in your effort and you're not being lazy about it, then your prayer can be way more better than an Arab. Because of your focus, because of your concentration, because of your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though technically speaking, your pronunciation may not be better than that Arab or someone who has learned it in Arabic language. So Allah is not going to judge you on that. What matters is what effort you're putting in, what are your intentions, and you taking time into and performing the prayer. So again, this is something that's very important. So don't drop it as you learn. Think about implementing it. Let it not be just a theoretical knowledge. Now let's talk about the do's and don'ts quickly. So here are some questions, right? What would you say to these questions? Now, one thing to realize that, look, you may do something because of protection, because of being on the safe side, but that may not be a compulsory option. So it's important to be aware of, a strong opinion that exists on that matter. And some of these things have a leeway. They don't have to do those things. And another way of looking at it is that, look, I mean, sometimes it may even not be important because the convert may not be ready. So there's no point of saying something to him such as, get circumcised, because he may not even be ready. So you have to see where their priorities are, right? And is this an agreed upon issue? And sometimes the convert may say, okay, he may seem ready, but he may not be able to, take that burden. Such as if he is into a haram job and you say, okay, leave the job. And then he leaves the job and then, he can't function. So, oh, what am I going to do when I'm not getting a job? So you have to see the level of person's iman and also let them make that decision. So let it be their decision. Don't make the decisions for them. Now, in terms of something like that, when situations come in, we have this WhatsApp group where we can discuss these things and tap into the experience of others. Like what should I do about telling my family, right? So this is a very common thing, and people have experiences, so we can discuss those type of situations in that group. Here's a video list of some of these common questions that new Muslims ask. And here's a document with a lot of resources for you to answer questions and to empower and to teach them. So again, some common pitfalls that are very harmful are coaches being passive. They become support. Okay, you know what? If he needs help, she needs help, she will call me. No, this is not your job. This is not how you're functioning. You're doing proactive, right? You don't run a business by just being passive. Or coaches are very shy to get to the main goal, right? They say, okay, how is everything? And they just talk about everything else, and they just become a good friend. And there's no discussion about the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and improving that. So that's very important, that you are being proactive, not just like a listener. There's a plan in place. And then again, sometimes reverse aim for being perfect, technically perfect, and pronunciation being perfect, and that's why they're not performing the prayers and so on and so forth. And that would come in if you have that discussion with them, that look, the importance of doing it, and even if you're not technically correct. Sometimes, for example, they may get upset because their family don't appreciate their conversion. So tell them, look, that's a shortcoming from your family. You have a lot of other people who appreciate your conversion, who appreciate your Islam, and more importantly, how does Allah praise you in Quran? So that's very important for you to get the validation from, and we'll talk about that later. And then again, being in Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups and Google, where they're searching for things and they're getting all sorts of different answers and hard answers and not true answers. So that could be another way that they fall down. So keep it simple. Don't follow too many people. Don't get a lot of into arguments and so on and so forth. Seek help from Allah to connect you with the right people and so on and so forth. And start practicing what you know. Don't get into matters that you're not ready for. Being practical, okay? Not getting into all sorts of differences of opinions and so on and so forth, okay? And even if you perform major sins, if you're trying hard, does not mean that you become a non-Muslim. So keep getting better and better. So these type of things are important for the converts to understand. So here are some WhatsApp groups, announcements for coaches, okay, and mentors. These are different content that are suitable for converts. And yeah, so we'll keep it at that. Here's some check-in examples, follow-up examples, as you can see from WhatsApp, and we'll talk about it in detail in follow-up modules. Now, here's something that you can use in your organization, in your team, to use a system called HubSpot, where you can set up different converts that are coming into your organization and how they are developing. So this is a very good thing. It's an optional thing. If you're interested in implementing it for your organization, I'll be happy to help you with that. So this video will give you a good overview of that, and there are detailed videos on that as well. So this is some of the things that I wanted to leave with you today, and I'll see you in the next module. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.